Now, just for a bit of fun, here are a couple of examples written for the PloP emulation. The NIM program is the old classic where you take it in turns to remove either 1, 2 or 3 sticks from a pile, and the player who is forced to take the final stick loses. I'll take 3 sticks. Try 2. There we go, I lost. Okay, this one uses weighted random numbers and is based on the premise that a million monkeys typing at random will eventually come up with the works of Shakespeare. You can slow it down with the switches. Now, it's fascinating to watch, for a while anyway, not very convincing, but, and you'll just have to trust me on this, but it's completely genuine. I was testing this earlier and noticed these words. I just managed to stop the machine in time so I could capture it before it was gone forever. Anyway, frivolities aside, as we saw last time, all programs for this PloP emulation have to be entered manually on the switches every time the machine is turned on. So this video continues with the reader and writer programs from last time, which have now been modified to transfer data to and from store, and that turns them into loader and dumper programs. Now, apologies for the acronyms in the title. It's a common computer tradition, but these are especially cringeworthy. The one for PlasMa input from paper tape is not too bad, but the one for the dumper is a tad unsavoury, although it's more appropriate in a poetic kind of way. Let's first write a basic Hello World program, so we have something to dump and load. Okay, it just loops around repeating this message. Right, now for the dumper program. Now this is where we need to plan ahead and make some decisions. Firstly, where should the dumper go in store? Now the Hello World program, which is the user program, occupies the first few words of memory. So the dumper will obviously have to go higher up. But how far? And what about functionality? Now I could add all sorts of bells and whistles to the dumper, such as messages on the teletype to prompt the operator to load the tape, or maybe display tape errors, or maybe read the switches for dumping a specific region of store. But any memory used by the dumper will be unavailable to the user program, so maybe it should really be as small as possible. Now there are tricks you can do to allow the dumper to overwrite part of itself, but that's a topic for later. But for now I'll keep it simple and just dump the whole store. This also means it will include itself in the dump, and this will be handy as it will be restored along with the Hello World program when we load the tape back in. So I'm going to enter the dumper at address A0. Now if you try this yourself, there's a small complication in that the paper tape writes 1 byte at a time, but the instructions which access memory fetch 2 bytes at a time. The memory is 16 bits wide, so you'll need to do some bit shuffling. Okay, I'll set the program counter to the start of the dumper. We want A0 in here, so A0, target PC and load, and press run. And as before, the program is now waiting for the paper tape, which is this SD card, to go into the punch. I'll load the tape, and now it's writing. Now I've doubled the speed from last time, so it now writes at 20 bytes a second, which I believe is comparable to an IBM 1624 punch machine, which was 15 characters a second. That's assuming my internet source is correct. I'm leaving the tape reader set at 100 bytes a second for now, as this is roughly the same as a 1621 reader, at 150. So it's not unrealistic for machines back then. If I made them as fast as later machines, there'd be no incentive to progress onto the PLEX emulation with its block-based mag tapes and disk drives. Okay, I'll unload the tape and watch out for the Chad. Right, now for the loader program. And as with the dumper, there are similar logistics to be considered. Now, there was an interesting comment on the previous video by Ian, thank you Ian, saying that some early machines could load paper tapes directly into store. And the one mentioned had an aptly named whoosh key. Now this would certainly make things easier, but I decided not to simulate this feature, as the more functionality I add to the hardware, or more correctly the firmware, the less challenges there are for the system's programmer. So we'll carry on with the loader, and I'm going to place that at address D0 to keep it separate from the dumper, which is at A0. I've not thought through the logistics fully, but here's an interesting one. If it does the opposite of the dumper and loads the whole store, it will overwrite itself while it's loading. So for now I'll just put a limit on how much store is loaded. Right, and before I run the loader, I'll deliberately corrupt the Hello World program to prove the loader does actually restore it. It's all too easy to get deceived with this. So I'll overwrite the hello message, and address 16 is currently 6C6C, which is the double L in the word hello. So I'll change it to 2 spaces, which is 2020, 2020, target, memory and load, and we'll reset and run just to prove the message is being corrupted. Okay, now we can set the program counter to the start of the loader, which was D0. D0, target PC, load, there it is, and press run. Okay, the program's waiting for the tape, so I'll put the card into the reader and press load. Okay, we'll reset PC to 0, and if I press run we should see the Hello World program restored. And there it is. I'll just unload the tape. Right, finally let's just change the loader to automatically start the program it's just loaded. So I need to replace the loader's halt instruction with a jump back to address 0. So the halt is in address EB, oh, this one, EB, all zeros. So I'm going to replace this with a jump, which if you remember is a 5000, which goes back to address 0. We want the target to be memory and load, and there it is. I need to recorrupt the Hello World program again. So we'll go to address 16, that's a 6C6C, we want this to be 2020, 2020, load, and we'll reset and run to prove it's corrupted. Okay. Now we set PC to the start of the loader, which has just been patched. We want D0, target is PC, there, and load, and press run. Waiting for the tape. So this time when I press load for the tape, the loader will read in the Hello World program and it should start it running automatically. So fingers crossed, load. Okay, that looks very promising. So that's it for now, and see you next time.